Hello, and welcome back to Sword Buddies. A couple of housekeeping things we need to do first before we get into class. About the upload schedule. So, these new ones that are 2020 updated are going to be coming out on Friday. And then we have a bunch that we had done back during, sorry, I said 2020. 2021.
That's this year.
This year are going to be coming out on Fridays. And then the whole bunch that we had done to get ready for this year, for during 2020, are going to be released on Mondays. Those are going to be kind of like the archived Sword Buddies. So, just so y'all know, that's why we have two different Sword Buddies during the week, for at least for a little bit. But other than that, let's get right into it. Justin.
Troy.
How was class?
I got to work some dagger today.
Ooh.
Yeah, some
fun.
Practical application dagger. Ooh, I died a lot. Ooh, a whole lot, let me tell you. But it's interesting. Something you said, but I was seeing it applied incorrectly. Or not incorrectly, differently. And that's what I have to remember.
What's up?
Just because it's different doesn't mean it's incorrect. You said to always... One of our teachers told us to always keep their hands close. Like the dagger close to the sword.
Yes.
You basically make a T with it. The dagger makes a T along the sword, and it just covers an extra guard while you line up a shot.
Ah, that's interesting.
And so when you send everything.
Interesting.
So the dagger falling forward will clear the sword and the dagger out of the way, and then the sword finishes.
Okay. So, because I remember when I first heard
Like
that
this.
concept.
You do this with the blades.
Yeah. I remember when I first, at least the concept that you're talking about, it was like, imagine your hands are like, you're like handcuffs. So the dagger's always, if the rapier's high, the dagger's protecting it low. If the rapier's low, dagger's protecting it high. And it's always kind of around it like a spiky turtle of death. I think that was like what the term we used for it. But like,
Kind of. It's more like a shell that is a short blade.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I get one, historically, Tim is telling me 10 to 12 inch blade. But the place I'm looking at, like the normal ones you get,
Okay.
are more like 14, 16. Like that's their standard selling price. And it's actually more expensive to get a 12 inch or lower.
I feel like that makes sense a little bit.
Just because of labor.
And also, like, I think through a lot of the studying that I've done, one of my favorite books that I've always gone to, I recommend if anyone has any interest in just combat in general, book, The Art and History of Personal Combat. That's one of the best books you could read, and it makes studying the history of fighting really interesting.
Personal combat as in one-on-one.
Yes. But one of the concepts mentioned there was like a lot of the rapiers were like almost 2 feet in length sometimes. Like they were long. Sorry, not rapiers. The daggers. The daggers were very long.
That is like later.
Okay.
That was later. And like historically, truthfully, for the period I study, which would have been like 1580s to 1640s.
Okay.
Probably even a little bit later, this style was still used. But Tim is telling me 10 to 12 inches. Simply because to conceal a 14 or longer, it is a sword at that point.
Yeah.
They are just wielding a short sword in the offhand.
Yeah, I would say
Which is totally a style.
Yeah.
But to conceal that, or at least carry it all day, that's a little intense.
That's heavy.
Because that's your second weapon. You want it light. And that dagger that I was using was super light.
Yeah.
And it was only like that long.
Okay.
Like
That's fair.
Like
When you did
quails
this,
were big.
it immediately was like reminded me of like archery. Just holding it kind of like this.
Kind of. That's kind of what I was doing.
Like when you said line up the shot, I was like, huh.
I learned 3 different guards. Preem, which is from the draw. If my front foot is forward from the draw, and then you tee the dagger.
Okay.
And the idea is it blocks your outer upper quadrant with the sword, and it blocks your outer lower, or technically your inner lower quadrant with the dagger.
Okay.
Terza, which is our third guard, and you just do the same thing, and it's less taxing on the shoulder. Like, this is really good. This is pretty good if you figure it out, and it's less taxing. And then Terza with the back foot forward, which is more like I'm sprung up and I'm a little blade shell because I'm standing super low if I'm doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll have to...
I only learned the basics tonight, and my mind is like, ooh, okay.
You need to write this stuff down.
I do.
Yeah. It's a lot of those concepts, especially when you write them down the first time, you'll come back the next day and you'll be like, what does any of this mean? But that's interesting. That's a lot of fun. And it's still Fabris?
Yeah.
Huh.
He told me to only look at Fabris for Rapier Dagger. He said that other styles talk about, like, you can part it and you can do separate things, which you kind of end up doing naturally in the bout. Like, once you find him with the dagger, it's kind of like using your offhand, where it's like, I'm just going to move that out of the way. Mm-hmm. And now it's just your sword, which I already have. I'm just move your sword out of the way. Now it's just your dagger. Are you fast enough?
Yeah. I remember another thing that I was taught, or similar to the handcuff thing, it was like, imagine rubber bands, because they're going to separate, but they should always come back. If you move, like, the space always needs to come back together.
My Terza kind of rested like a vertical T. Like, my left shoulder would rest just to kind of close this out, but this was always engaged.
Gotcha.
Preem, I had them both. I had to. Like, because just having that T there kind of helped support my shoulder.
It's a little exhausting.
But also it really helped cover. So if I needed to drop them both on his sword to then turn up into him.
Just already set up.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool, man.
It was fun stuff.
That's really cool.
I was real excited.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to... I hope they post some bouts.
And I was most proud that in my single sword bouts tonight, I landed a double feint, which was the action tonight that I didn't even get to practice.
What? He just went in blind.
I was just like, well, I watched him do it, and I helped this guy who came in late kind of figure it out for a second. So let me just try it. Down there, he went for it. Gotcha.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that we practiced feints before.
It's nice.
That is
Just tweet,
bam.
boom.
That's fun.
It was a good night.
That's brilliant.
How was your night?
First off, before I answer that, a word from our sponsor, H2O. It's water. It's dihydrogen monoxide.
It's 70% you.
Drink it. You need it to survive. Chances are you didn't drink enough today.
Supposed to drink 3 of these a day.
Yes. My class?
Your class.
It was good. We got to learn that some sad news, but I guess good. The member of our class that is an astronaut, that is Japanese, he is going back to Japan after this next weekend. This next weekend, he's going to be his last class, and then he's back home.
That's nice for him.
Yeah, apparently they trade out JAXA astronauts every year, so they get a year over here and they're sent back. Even through all this stuff, they're still sending him back, which is nice.
Yeah,
but it'll be sad to see him go, because he always brings something different to class. He has such a different energy because he knows he's been steeped in the culture his whole life. He's been, he has such a different way of conducting himself in the dojo than any American that I've ever seen, that it doesn't matter, good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm practicing. Like, oh, okay, we have time before we're bowing in. I'm going to practice this real quick. Like, oh, we're taking a break. I'm going to get some water. I'm gonna practice until we get back. Like it's just, and he's not going hard. It's just consistent.
He's doing his motions to make sure.
Consistent every single time, and it's also like it's also like little things. It's such small things, like when you watch Sensei and you make space for her when she demonstrates. The second that she starts walking back, he takes a space back to get ready for setup for her to get back and go. Just like every second isn't wasted, you know. And it's really cool to practice with someone who has that energy that's not like aggressive about it and like you need to be like this too. You know what I mean? I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss him because he's very fun. But good news, later this month of February, John Ray Sensei, who is the guy who brought my style from Japan to the U.S., is stopping by for the weekend, coming to say hello. So it'll be interesting to see.
Just stopping for the weekend.
He's making a
Japan?
he's making no. He lives in Denton.
Okay.
Excuse me. He lives in Denton, and he has his main dojo out of Denton, and he is going to be making. Look at you.
I kicked over our sponsor.
Oh my God. Just disrespectful.
I didn't mean to disrespect the sponsor.
He typically makes like rounds of like all the Baton Rouge, like the Louisiana and then Texas dojos on his way and like up to Oklahoma and then back to Denton.
Okay.
Because that's mainly where all of our schools are.
Yeah.
So he tries to get around and see everyone, see whose progress is at. Because it'll be 2 years since anyone has tested. And for the first 6 levels, first 6 ranks, you can consistently test 1 a year. You can consistently get a new rank every year.
Okay.
But it's been 2 years, so everyone's gonna be in pretty good shape that who is ready to test. Cause
I'm assuming you can only take 1 test a year, or can you progress multiple belts at a time? Probably not. That's probably a more Western thing.
No, it's more of that, like, the test has to be adjudicated by the Japanese teachers.
Understand.
Well, not that they adjudicate it. They come over and they watch us and they record it. And they take the recording of our test to the Soke.
Okay.
And the Soke watches every test to approve if this person from this school goes up a rank or not. Now, typically they'll be like, because they're there and they've seen everyone perform, they'll be like, I recommend everyone on this, goes up a rank. And he'll watch it once or twice, probably, and just be like, cool, next rank. But I don't think we've ever had anyone fail a test. Typically, they'll be like, you'll get there and we'll do the first day, and they'll be like, hey, if you're egregious, they'll be like, you don't need to test. It'll probably be.
But they'll tell you.
But they'll tell you. They'll be like, even the teacher will be like, I don't recommend that you test, and won't let you go up there. So, it is at your teacher's discretion when you advance, regardless. Like, you might not advance for 2 years if you're just not that coordinated.
That's fair.
Which we've had people not be able to do that, especially if you can't make it, which kind of sucks. But anyway, circling back around, he's stopping by later, so it'll be good to see him and see what he has to say, see his thoughts on where we're at, because we were the first dojo to get back to practicing after everyone shut down for coronavirus.
Just because you could spread out so far?
Yeah, because we had Sensei's backyard, and we had relatively enough free time to do it, so we were the first ones back to practicing. But class itself tonight is pretty basic. We did our sitting forms, both basic and the advanced Tatehisa forms. Nothing crazy, just more practice, dusting off the cobwebs. It had been a while since I really did a lot. Well, you know what sucked?
I was going to say, what frustrated you?
What really frustrated me, to be completely honest, today was leg day, and
I don't care.
I know, but getting back and forth but like immediately getting home, blasting legs, and then going to class where I'm just getting up and down and up and down and up and down.
That's your
and
fault.
then slowly up and down, and I'm like, oh, my knees. But nah, it was good. I feel fine, but it was that was probably the most egregious part of it because I know those ones pretty well. I think the biggest problem for me overall still that I have the hardest time with is pushing through the back of my foot.
Like from the heel or?
From the heel.
Okay.
I have very weak heels. And what I've been noticing is because of my training a lot with like the deep lunges and far lunges, I overextend way too far with how consistent my lunges need to be with this, because they only need to be about 2 feet apart.
Same.
Really?
That's sort of the rule that Tim has been saying is like I get there and it's fun, but it doesn't have control. Like I can stop from there, I can stop and bounce back, but when I'm really committed, I'm gonna have to pass through. Like I fall through almost.
Yeah, it causes for me because my feet will at some point be parallel, shoulder width apart, or a foot between them apart, and I'll have to step forward to do a cut, and if my feet should be like this, if I step too far, my foot's automatically going to curve out. And that immediately takes away inches of cutting space. And those inches, that game of inches, is how you win. So the more I overextend, the flatter or the more angle my foot goes, and I can't reach as far. I end up having to reach more with my shoulders, which creates a weaker cut.
I think you just explained the basic stance to me in a way that made me absolutely... Oh!
It is... because it's all based on your geometry. So if you go past your geometry, you're taking away your power and you're taking away your
Fabris
reach.
says to take short steps that are controlled because you never know when you could kick a cobblestone or slide in the gravel or on the mud. So you want to make sure you have short controlled steps no matter where you're fighting. And to compensate, lean into the attack. Yeah. So you are stepping really short, but you are leaned very far over.
Oh.
Yes. So you have this low stance that you then lean super far over to reach.
I see what you're saying now.
And so this lunge, while super short,
it's really
is
supportive.
still a lunge.
It's very supportive.
And I think what you just told me is really going to help with my reach.
Good.
The last thing that I'm still trying to get down is where you move from first is the point.
What?
The point of the sword is the first thing to move. Do not step first. Do not send the body. It is the point of the sword that moves first.
Oh, God, yeah. Because it's the... For us, it's the Kisaki. Yeah, the Kisaki moves first.
On that note,
everything is the same. Oh, my head hurts.
everything is the same, but different.
We'll see you next time on Sword Buddies.